From rags to riches, she had everything she ever wanted, but it wasn't enough.
But I had something in me that was missing, and I was searching. What is it?
Find out how a free gift changed her life.
Every moment that I was facing, the darkest moment, he was there.
Plus, former NFL and Major Leaguer DJ Dozier discusses unlocking your personal success on today's 700 Club Interactive.
Hi, and welcome to the show. Well, last week, the NBA regular season concluded, and with it came the end of a career. Dwyane Wade is retiring as one of this generation's best. A certain NBA Hall of Famer, Wade accomplished just about everything a player could hope for during his 16-year NBA career.
The video you're seeing is from his final game as he says goodbye to his teammates and fans. During his career, Dwyane Wade won 3 NBA titles, was a Finals MVP, and a 13-time All-Star. Well, recently, Budweiser posted a tribute to Wade, not for being a hero on the court, but for making a difference off of it. Take a look.
I have no idea who's coming. Like, literally, no idea. Hello.
Hi, Dwyane. Hello.
Hello. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, and yourself? It's been about 12 years since I last seen you. I come from an area where not too many people make it.
It was always my dream that I'd get the chance to go to college, but we just didn't have the money.
You mean so much to us, and my brother Joaquin loved you from the beginning. He passed away in Parkland on February 14th. He was one of the 17 victims.
10 days before Christmas, our house burned down and we lost everything. It was one of the lowest points in my life.
Hey, Dwyane.
How you doing, Mom?
You were the joy of my life, but I was dropping the ball. That day that I just couldn't do it no more was the day that I was gonna have to turn myself in. And I seen the tears just fall from your eyes. Your mama went down a road, Dwyane, that I didn't ever think I'd come back from. But on that road, I noticed you kept showing up, and you'll come and see about me. And Dwyane, because you believe in me. When I got out of prison, I was a different woman.
We received a phone call. Would you mind if Dwyane Wade take you and the family on a shopping spree? It just meant the world to me that you were there for us at this time.
Thank you.
You became our hero.
A lot of the words that you said hit a spark and kind of changed where I was going.
Without you and your full tuition scholarship, none of this would have been possible.
You're not Wade, the basketball player, the legend. You're the human being that took the time and on his own wrote my brother's name on his shoe, and you cared.
When you bought your mama that church, you don't even understand the lives that you changed. So I don't have a jersey, but I brought you this.
I don't have a jersey to trade with you, but I definitely have this, the blazer that I wore to my first job interview.
My cap and gown from graduation.
This is important because Joaquin wore this in his last championship. My family wanted you to have it.
Please don't forget my brother, Joaquin. Having you as a role model has made all the difference.
One of the special robes that you gave me, purple symbolized royalty, and you are royal in everybody's life that you've touched.
You completely changed the course of my life.
I know my brother is with you always.
It wouldn't have been possible to be here if it wasn't for you.
I am more proud of the man you have become than the basketball player. You are bigger than basketball.
So touching.
Wow.
Well, Terry, to see all those jerseys, you see that those specifically right there are the most treasured. And it was so interesting to see Dwyane Wade, you know, the basketball court was his place to dominate, right, and excel. Did you see how vulnerable he was standing on that court in those moments?
Wow. You know, he's going to have a long line in heaven, can I just say? A long line of thank yous. And
many people don't know his mom, a drug user, sold drugs for a while, was incarcerated, and then, of course, now she's a minister of the Word of God, pastoring a church that Dwyane bought for her in Chicago.
Well, you know, we often talk about the love of a parent and the power of that, but in this instance, the love of a son for his mom was a life changer.
And teaches us about legacy, doesn't it?
Yeah, boy, what a legacy, what a rich legacy. And it kind of challenges all of us to take a look at what am I leaving when I'm not here anymore.
A beautiful, beautiful story. Well, speaking of making a difference on and off the field of competition, we're going to talk to a man that played in the NFL and he played Major League Baseball. DJ Dozier will discuss becoming the best version of you. That's coming up next. Stay with us. Well, you probably recognize names like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. In the past 50 years, only 7 athletes have played both Major League Baseball and in the NFL. And reaching the highest level in one sport is difficult enough, but consider what it takes to make it in 2. For DJ Dozier, just getting on the field was the first of his many accomplishments. Take a look. Sports seem like an unlikely fit for former National Football League and Major League Baseball player DJ Dozier. He wore a corrective bar between his legs and feet to change the way they were growing as a child. With fierce determination, along with his parents' refusal to accept defeat, Dozier went on to be one of the rare 2-sport professional athletes in history. In his book, Decide to Dominate, Dozier shares how he overcame his personal challenges and how he transferred success from one endeavor to another. All right, DJ joins us now. Welcome.
Thank you.
Corrective shoes as a young boy, and then you wind up a 2-sport pro athlete. How does that possibly happen?
Good parenting.
It's the
my parents. Well, you know, my parents had overcome quite a bit, even as teenagers, and I believe that you know, tenacity and that obstinance is what they transferred to me. And so, you know, no matter what obstacle, you have to overcome it.
So what approach did they take? I mean, a lot of kids might have wanted to give up on certainly athletics. What was special about the way they raised you?
Well, I think number one, they didn't baby me. I mean, they were concerned, but definitely didn't, you know, give me the opportunity to think that I could not achieve something. I mean, I can remember having conversations with both my parents, and no matter what the conversation was about, whether it was academics, you know, school, or you know, any other subject, there was always a way to accomplish something greater.
Which isn't surprising, I guess, considering the legacy in your family of leadership and entrepreneurship. Tell us a little about that.
So, you know, back in history,
it goes way back.
It goes way back. You know, and of course, I don't know where it started, but I do know where my parents are today. I mean, on both sides of the family, very entrepreneurial. And I mean, my mom, even to this day, is looking for opportunities in business. And so, you know, that was passed down to myself and my sisters. We can't help ourselves but to, you know, live a life of entrepreneur. I mean, even right now, I work for a company that's a startup, and you know, so it's just a progression that was undeniable. I think, again, beginning way back. I'm not sure exactly when it started.
And we're going to talk about your book in a moment, Decide to Dominate. But this young boy who really overcame a lot just to play sports winds up scoring the winning touchdown in the national championship game. What's that feeling like?
Tremendous. But what's interesting is, you know, it was a little history. I mean, that team, you know, went through a lot to get to that point. We had lost the championship the year before that. A lot of folks don't realize that or remember that. But it was a commitment through a bunch of guys that came together and said, you know what, we're going to put ourselves in this position again. And we did. And, of course, I ended up scoring the winning touchdown. But I think even more than that, it was an opportunity to give God glory. And you know, I'm so thankful for that.
Did you anticipate having a career in the NFL?
I was hoping. You know, you went to a school like Penn State. And you know, what was interesting is it was about my sophomore year when I started seeing some of the guys I played with that went from Penn State, and all of a sudden they were in the NFL. And I thought, my goodness, I'm only 3 steps away. And so I started believing that I actually could play there.
But how about, I mean, it's incredible. You know, we talked about these two-sport athletes in pro sports and how rare it is. You're running back in the NFL, and I love the part of your book when you talk about how you started to find yourself getting into pro baseball. How did that happen?
Just a thought.
That easy?
It started there. And, you know, that's how powerful thought is. Matter of fact, I remember walking into our house, and I had 4 other roommates back at Penn State, and they were watching the Pittsburgh Pirates play. And I thought out loud. I said, oh, I can do that. And they sort of turned around and said, what do you mean, do what? And I said, play baseball. And they sort of snickered.
How long had it been since you played competitive baseball?
Well, at that time, it had been high school, so that was 4 years. But then 3 years later,
that's incredible.
I actually saw them in the stadium after I had played a game against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we all sort of laughed and giggled and said, man, you told us this 3 years ago, and here you are. It's unbelievable. Your
book's called Decide to Dominate, which is interesting because you're a humble guy, and I know your approach is very biblical. The term dominate can kind of sound aggressive and abrasive. What do you mean by it?
You know, great question. And I didn't think about that in the beginning when this came out. But, you know, this was a message, I believe, that came from heaven. I woke up one morning with those words. And when I started studying part of it, you know, go back to the Bible. I mean, God does say, take dominion. And so there's a correlation there. I mean, it's a birthright. So dominating is part of our birthright as Christians and believers.
Do you think people, do we too often just look at the obstacles we're up against and the reasons why we can't succeed? One of the things I tell my son, who's an aspiring athlete, is don't be afraid to succeed. It's not like I really speak from experience in athletics, but I see him sometimes in the approach. I just want to remind him, don't be afraid to succeed. Why do you think sometimes, not just in sports, but in our professional life, we don't really have tenacity sometimes?
Great question. You know, I think sometimes we just allow anything. I mean, let's face it, sometimes we think we need permission from someone else to be successful. And so we look for opportunities not to be. And, you know, I think when we free ourselves and realize, I don't need anyone's permission, God placed me here for a reason and a purpose. I have significance because he gave me purpose. And now with that mindset, you can go out and achieve anything. And any obstacle really becomes a little bump in the hill or a little bump in the road.
And I guess sometimes, too, we take it on ourselves that success is just for me. But really, one thing your book talks about is leading with influence. What do you mean by that?
So all of us have the capacity to influence or be influenced. I mean, imagine being influenced by the Most High. So when you're influenced by the Spirit of God, I mean, on the other side of that influence is success, is overcoming, is dominance.
How are you influenced by a relationship with Christ?
I mean, Christ is everything. I mean, when I realized a long time ago that, you know, for years I played football, I played sports, and that was all that I loved. When I realized that I needed more in life, you know, and I grew up in a Christian home. So, you know, it wasn't until I walked around campus my junior year trying to figure out what was missing in my life when I realized that it was a true relationship with the Lord, meaning a one-on-one, not just going to church, not just praying, not just reading my Bible, but actually having a relationship that changed everything.
You just felt that emptiness in your soul.
It was complete emptiness. And again, football was everything to me. So when I came to the conclusion that football couldn't be what it was in my life, and not that I needed to get rid of it, but I just needed to place it in its priority.
What do you most want people to take away from your book?
Number one, that they count. You know, they not only do they count, but they have the power to decide. And you know, God gave us that birthright. So if they understand that it's their decision, then all you have to do is say yes.
Amen. Well, the book is called Decide to Dominate, and it's available now wherever books are sold. Thanks so much for being with us. Great stuff.
Absolutely.
Let's go over to Terry.
Well, up next, she tried to earn her parents' love, but to no avail.
I was nobody, and I was ashamed to my parents. They don't want to see me. No one wants to see me. And I said, even God is not here to help me. I was totally hopeless.
Hear her rags to riches story and how she found true love right after this. Jean Kang arrived in the United States with grand plans of fulfilling the American dream. A few years later, she achieved success, but certainly not in the way she planned. And shortly after Jean became a millionaire entrepreneur, she realized that money couldn't buy happiness.
Self-made millionaire Jean Kang had finally done it. She was living the American dream.
I made enough money to do everything I wanted. I traveled. I could buy anything that I wanted. But ultimately, there was something missing.
Growing up in a small South Korean village, Jean longed to be more than a rice farmer, like her parents. Her father, a gambler and alcoholic, abused his wife and their 5 children.
My father was never around when we were growing up. It was all on my mom. And whenever he came home at night, he'll start beating us. I was thinking we were the trouble for him.
Feeling as though she were a burden to her parents, she tried to prove her worth by being a good worker.
Ever since I could remember, I helped my mom to lessen her sadness because my dad was never around to help her. And I thought that would have been good enough for her to consider me as a good daughter.
Often, Jean prayed to God for a better life.
I used to pray to him to feel sorry for me and give me some more food will help me run away one day. They kept me going because I knew that I didn't belong there for some reason, and I was getting out.
In school, she studied hard, believing education was her ticket to a better future in America. But when she was 16, her parents heard a false rumor that she'd kissed a boy. Her father slapped her and called her a whore. Her mother offered no defense.
I didn't deserve it. I was looking at my mom to help me here. And she was with my dad's side, didn't bail me out, didn't believe me. And I felt betrayed. It hurts me. I couldn't let it go.
To get back at them, she started rebelling. A few months later, she got pregnant and had an abortion. She was then expelled from school and became a social outcast.
I could never go back to school. I was nobody, and I was ashamed to my parents. They don't want to see me. No one wants to see me. And I said, even God is not here to help me. I was totally hopeless.
So she ran away to the South Korean city of Osan. She became a prostitute with plans of finding a husband from a nearby U.S. military base. Within a year, she was engaged and on her way to America.
I see myself as finishing college and be somebody, have a good job, or live in a good life. When he asked me to marry him, of course I said yes. But I saw the ticket to America, my hope to go back to high school and be somebody.
She eventually earned her GED and an associate's degree, but it wasn't the path to happiness she hoped for. Over the next 10 years, she would divorce 3 times, survive an abusive husband, and have 3 sons. At 30 years old, she was a single mom with $2,200 to her name.
I was still nowhere close to where I wanted to be, but I always thought that if I can just get from point A to B, I can get out of this poor status. I could do something.
It was then she got the idea to start a business selling costume jewelry and accessories.
And that was the ticket to build my life. And I was a street peddler, basically. I would literally pull and go next to the grocery store and a grocery cart and selling stuff, sell.
Just as she'd done as a young girl, she asked God for help. She even went to church on occasion. Meanwhile, her business grew, and within 10 years, she had gone from being a street peddler to a millionaire. It even helped her reconcile with her parents.
As soon as I became wealthy, I took care of my parents. I bought them a house. I would give them plenty of money. That was my way of forgiving my parents.
Then tragedy shook her world. Her 17-year-old son was killed in a car accident.
When I lost my son, I got angry at God. Look, all the things I've done to be their mother and struggle, and it took my son away. Why me? Why mine? And one day at that church, during sermon, I walked out, and I knew that I was never going back.
Over the next 18 years, she focused on her other sons and making money, but still happiness eluded her.
I should have been happy with all the things I was able to do, but I had something in me that I was missing, and I was searching. What is it?
She would soon find out. She became friends with a woman, a Christian, who had the one thing she didn't: joy. Eventually, Jean He agreed to go to church with her. The sermon was about the prodigal son.
And there's a big screen that says coming home. And the theme was run away. And I said, oh, I'm a runaway. That story represented me, that I wanted to go home. I wanted to go home. And where is the home? And it wasn't Korea, it wasn't my mother, it wasn't my father. It was God that I was missing. I said, I want to be God's child.
She realized happiness and a sense of self-worth didn't come through riches or achievement, but through Christ's love and forgiveness.
The love that He had for me, that I cannot buy, it was only that God can give to me. I was only able to see His goodness when I opened my heart to Him and accepted Him to my heart. Every moment that I was facing, the darkest moment, the broken spirit, He was there.
At age 57, Jean He earned her bachelor's degree, fulfilling a lifelong dream. She's grateful and amazed at what Christ did for that little village girl praying for help.
That God that I used to pray is the same God right now living in me. And that's what's so special about knowing God. He never gave up. And He wanted me with Him.
God never does give up. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, He never gives up. It's maybe one of the greatest promises that He leaves us in His Word is, I will never leave you or forsake you. You know, for some who have lost parents, or as Jean He had early in her life, rejection from her family, it leaves you feeling like you always have to do more. You always have to do something to earn love. And it's very foreign to feel like God, our Father, loves us because we have value to Him, not because of what we do or what we earn or what we accomplish, but just because we're His creation. That's so hard to understand. We want to do something to make ourselves worthy of that life. We want to accomplish things that will give us a sense of value, a sense of having earned position and love and just hope, I guess, in everything. But you know, God says, I love you with an everlasting love. His love can't be earned, it's there. What's our job in all of that? It's to receive it. It's to understand the majesty of who He is, the gift of forgiveness which He offers to each and every one of us. Listen, today, if you are listening to Jean He's story and you're saying, I'm empty inside and I have a place that can't be filled by anything that I've done, anyone I've known, anything I've earned, God is what you're searching for. Jesus is the answer to your emptiness. Come to Him and just humbly say, God, I want to know you. I'm asking you to forgive me, not because I'm worthy of being forgiven, but because of you as my Father and your great love. Ask Him to reveal Himself to you, and then commit all that you are and all that you have to Him. It's just a conversation. As Jean He said, the God who created all of this now lives in me, and He can live in you too. Ask Him. Ask him today to do that for you. If you'd like someone to pray with you today, we have phone lines that are always open, and the people on the other end of the line are people who've made the same kind of commitment we're talking about. The call's free. It's 1-800-700-7000. So call now. Call now. Andrew?
Incredible. Jean, he walks out of that church and says, God, I'm done with you, but his pursuit never stops. The Holy Spirit just kept wooing her.
Love that. Love that.
Amen. We leave you with Psalm 147, verse 5. Great is our Lord and abundant in power. His understanding is beyond measure. God bless you.